thank you. So I didn't understand a word about the, but I can. We need to switch, unfortunately, into English, as I don't speak a word of Italian. Maybe some words like ciao and benvenuto, and maybe the lyrics from famous Italian songs like Volare, but that's it. Okay. So welcome, and I would like to thank the event organizers for having me here, and for you for being here in the Mastering Data-Driven Product Storytelling, Persuading Stakeholders with Impact. And with that, I am Despina Kitsou. I'm a senior product manager at Nokia. I worked there for 17 years and the last 9 in product management. And I guess you have now the question, what does Nokia does? Okay, because everybody's mind is like the 3310 Nokia, okay? But no, Nokia have sold their mobile devices a long time ago, and now it's a B2B technology innovator company, and it focuses in networking, like mobile networks, fixed networks. It actually provides the telecom providers, like Telecom Italia, the infrastructure, the hardware and the software. And because this is a very large organization, internally, there was a brainstorming session on how can I convey my messages better to my audiences, okay, about product. And this is how this first workshop has created, because this is actually a workshop, and I have tailored today to be a speech. And it's mostly entry-level, okay, information that I will share, the basics, because as I told you, this was crafted as a workshop. But I really think that also for experts and later professionals can, okay, remind themselves, take some hints on this. So what am I going to tell you today? So actually, I'm going to remind you about what product advocacy is. So this is going to be my introduction. I'm going to tell you how important it is and what you can benefit from storytelling, why it's very important to have data in your storytelling, how can you use effectively your visualizations, some hints on frameworks, because this is, okay, a really big topic, some pitfalls that you can avoid, and of course, we will summarize with some final tips and takeaways. So let me give you and remind you, okay, those that are working already with product. And I will take a step back even before this slide, just to distinguish between 2 roles. I know everybody works in organizations where they can be product managers and product owners. That can be the same person, that can be different roles. But actually, I just want to clarify that a product manager should be the one to have the strategic role to the product vision, okay? They need to set the product vision. They need to be able to convey the roadmap and focus on the big picture. And a product owner should be the one that has the tactical role of managing the product backlog and focusing on the details. So it's actually the product manager that needs to answer to everyone the what and the why, and the product owner to provide the how and the when, the details. Okay, in some organizations, you understand that the roles are mixed. So let's say that the PM should be able to present and convey clearly to these questions that I have here. What are we doing next? What's the actual plan, and why we are doing this now? These are the most important things that a product manager needs to answer. and needs to clearly answer to whom? To the stakeholders. And with the final goal to achieve is stakeholders alignment. So I don't know if you can tell me, who do you think our stakeholders are? Can someone tell me who our stakeholders can be? Anything? Yeah. So it can be C executives, it can be partners, it can be customers, it can be investors, it can be engineering, marketing, sales. Okay, all of those are our stakeholders, and those we need to keep them always aligned. We need to make them understand and make them believe in our product vision. And why do we need that? We need that because we need to ensure that we have increased buy-in. We need our stakeholders behind us. We need to be able for them to invest in the success of our product. We need to have stakeholders alignment for smoother development, because it reduces obstacles and fosters smoother collaborations. And of course, with that, I have faster time to market, okay, faster product launch. So now that I have let you know what a PM needs to do, okay, that needs to provide the what and the why, the product vision, the product roadmap, etc. This is a second word that I know in Italian. But how to efficiently do that? How do I secure stakeholders alignment? I can do that with storytelling, with product storytelling. Storytelling is actually a very powerful tool because it gives us connection, it gives us inspiring and drives us to action. And I will give you some benefits, okay? What storytelling is giving me. It communicates complex ideas effectively, okay? It transforms the complex data that I have into engaging narratives, into engaging stories. And it makes your message more accessible to wider audiences. Because actually, okay, you never know what your audience level is. And storytelling just gives you a narrative. It gives you a beginning, a middle, and an end. And for example, when I'm presenting some statistics, it is better to illustrate it with a journey. So maybe when I'm presenting some user churn, okay, statistics, I can present a user, okay, and the user journey, who is just encounters some friction points and now has some frustrations, and that will end up with big user losses. Another, I hope that you can see. Another is benefit from storytelling is that creates connections and it builds trust. Okay, when data alone, okay, when I present data of a product, it's very dry, it's very overwhelming for someone just to see tables and graphs. So it's very difficult for stakeholders, all those people that we said before, can connect with them, okay, in a human level. So storytelling, okay, helps us, let's say, bring life to data, meaning to data. And it allows us to make insights more relatable and for them more memorable, okay, to remember after they leave the room, to be in their minds. So imagine that I'm just sharing the data, saying customer satisfaction dropped by 50% last quarter. We must enhance our user journey. Okay, this is just giving them the data. Well, instead, I can say, let's say, imagine a user that is trying to complete a purchase and it's failing again and again. This is one of the experiences that represents the 50% drop in satisfaction that we are seeing the last quarter. And it's driving us, and that is why it's driving us to enhance the user journey. So I made a framework around my data. I gave a story, a user to relate to, and I called also to action. Next benefit is it captures attention. Okay, as childs, okay, the stories, our brains are wired to pay attention to stories because the stories are engaging and memorable. We all remember, okay, when someone tells us a story, we tend to remember it easier than data that they have given us. So it's breaking, okay, the noise that data has and making complex ideas more accessible. So for instance, let's say I'm introducing a new product feature. I'm sharing a story how it solves, okay, a specific user problem. And that's why I'm capturing it, attention far more effectively and engaging than just me sharing all the feature descriptions. Finally, it inspires change. Okay, so stories can transform ideas and number into calls to action. So it makes it easier for the people that hear the story to take it to the next level, okay, to make the change, to make the decision. So for instance, I'm pitching a feature and I'm saying to my stakeholders, I need 20 resources, X resources, okay, for development of this feature. Where's the action? Okay, I need my resources, nothing more. But what I could say is, okay, this feature has a potential to save users 30% of their time. That will lead to higher satisfaction scores and retention rates, and this is why it's essential for me to invest X resources in the next release. I'm framing it better, I'm giving it a context, I'm giving it, okay, everything that I need for my stakeholders to be motivated and support my feature. So now that I have established that storytelling can help, I can convey my message effectively. How can I enhance it more? Okay. I'm by putting the correct data. Okay. So data can be a very, very powerful tool to support and enhance our stories. Because it can provide a lot of things. It can provide fast checking and validation. So data can quickly validate my story, validate what I'm saying, that it's true. It can provide context. It helps the audience to understand the feature, the vision, okay, whatever I'm telling them. It can provide also personal stories that they can feel more relatable with them. So for example, let's say I have an specific audience, I can use demographic data, okay, and they can relate to that. It can be relatable to them. And finally, I can create very good visual narratives with data. Data visualization techniques, charts, graphs, maps, okay, to be able to create appealing and informative stories. And I will tell you another one which I recently understood is that it supports emotional appeals. And what do I say by that? For instance, data can invoke emotions. If I say that a feature that we have today cannot be used by a particular part of the people due to that it's not so inclusive, it can invoke their empathy, can invoke compassion, okay? It calls them to action that what we have here is not equal. So now we have seen that there is a clear difference between just presenting the data versus to telling a data-driven story. So informing versus persuading. So presenting data that focuses on facts only and on figures. It's only about delivering raw information. But when I'm telling a data-driven story, I'm using data to influence, I'm using data to inspire, I'm using data to call for action, to make a specific decision. For example, I'm going to use, and it does not do what I want to do. Okay. For example, okay, for example, let's say a user satisfaction score just dropped 10% this quarter. How can I frame it better in order not just to present the data? I can say that in the last quarter, we have experienced a satisfaction of 10% due to the fact that our users do not want to come back into our platform and engage with our platform. We need to call to action and correct all this. So I need to be able to tell correctly my story. Next. So now that we know that using a data-driven product storytelling is a very powerful method, how am I going to build this? How am I going to build a data-driven product storytelling? And this is by knowing my audience, understanding my audience. This is the first ground rule. Understanding the needs, understanding the expertise level of them, the technical expertise of them, their specific needs, in order to craft my story. I need to identify my key messages. Okay, after I know my audience, I need to know what I want to communicate to them. So am I aiming to highlight a problem? Am I aiming to showcase a trend? Am I demonstrating some value of a feature? Am I driving maybe a particular action? So by knowing the purpose of my story, I can make it more relatable, I can make it more impactful. So for instance, if I want just to advocate for a feature, I'm focusing on data that can highlight, for instance, user needs, pain points, and opportunities, rather than just filling up my slides with performance metrics and KPIs. And finally, choosing the right data. Okay, so this is the third ground rule. And it is about focusing on data that tells us a clear and coherent stories. We need to prioritize clarity over volume. Okay, I no need to include everything. Okay, all metrics, all KPIs in my slides, but I need to prioritize which data gives me and answers the simple methods, clear methods that I have chosen in my previous step. So selecting the data is very, very important. Secondly, I need to select data that shows change over time or contrast. So I need to select data that shows trends. I need to select comparisons, to compare between data. That will give my story a good backup story. And lastly, I need to ensure that the data is accurate and credible. Okay, I need to be able to say that whatever I'm using has correct sources behind, and it's otherwise it compromises my methods. Okay. So now that I have built, okay, I have built my story, I have chosen my data, I know what I need to say, my message, I know my audience. What I need to do, I need to choose now effectively my visualization tools, okay? I need to choose correctly my chart types, okay? This is very important, as you can understand, okay? Because there are chart types that best suits data. For instance, if you want to compare between categories or showing differences, you better choose a bar chart, okay? If you want to visualize trends over time, growth, decline, you choose line charts. If you want to choose a proportion of different categories, you use pie charts. Okay, those you need to very, very carefully use your charts, otherwise you cannot convey your message well. The second thing is you should use your color very, very strategically. Try not to use very, very bright ones, not very blunt ones. Okay, it's very, very important to use a consistent, pattern throughout your messaging. And finally, try to keep it simple. Do not overload your slides. Do not put like 100 charts. Do not put like 100 graphs. Okay, choose them correctly. Choose them wisely. Don't give a headache to your audience. So there are some techniques also that's very, very specific. Ones like data maps for instance, geographical data, tree maps for hierarchical structures, parallel coordinates, Sankey diagrams. Word clouds are very, very useful if you want to identify a key theme and topic. This is very important during a feedback discussion that you might have. I cannot go deep on those, unfortunately. So let's say now everything is ready. I have know my audience. I have chosen my data. I have chosen my right chart types. So how can I frame it in order to deliver it, better? So by using a storytelling framework. So there are many storytelling frameworks that can help transform, information into engaging, clear, and actionable stories. Unfortunately, I can only very quickly tell you two. If it was a workshop, in the second step, I will let you create ones. So one of them is a problem solution impact framework, which is actually a classic framework, because what it does, it just identifies the problem, presents the solution, of course, and it does with the actual impact of the solution. An example of that is, for instance, let's say after identifying that 40% of my users struggle with onboarding process, the problem. We introduced a new guided onboarding feature, describe the solution, which has since reduced onboarding time by 25% and increased, let's say, retention by 15%. And this is the impact. So I have structured with a beginning, middle, and end with solution, problem, solution, and impact. That gives a clear understanding to my audience why I have built it, and what impact does that have, What I said at the beginning, I should always know the what and the why. Secondly is another framework, is the before and after breeds framework, where the breeds is actually our feature. So it compares what we had before, the before state, with the after state, and the breeds, our feature, connects the two. So for instance, before, let's say, using our analytics tool, teams spend hours of creating manual reports. Our tool, the Breeds, streamlined the process, allowing them to create reports in minutes, now saving many, many hours weekly, after allowing more time for statistic analysis. And this is the after. So again, I have given my audience, okay, a framework to understand why I have built something and why. And of course, in all of this, this is a story backed up with data. Now, there is now a moment to pause and reflect, okay? Because it's nice, okay, to create fairy tales and stories and data around them, but there are some mistakes, okay, to watch for when I'm creating my product storytelling. So first, and I have mentioned that a lot, is overloading with too much data. So we need to be very, very selective of our data. They need to answer correctly the what, they need to answer correctly the why, and of course, it needs, okay, to be able to support the purpose of my story, okay? The methods, the initial method that I told you that my story needs to focus on. Next is using complex and confusing visuals, okay? Using overly complex charts, too many colors, very cluttered visuals make data harder, make slides or information to interpret it very, very distracting for the audience, and should be definitely avoided. So definitely just keep your visuals as simple, clear as possible, and very, very direct. So clean designs, clean principles. So you better choose, let's say, visualization types and chart types very correctly, representing and backing up only your story, not, okay, giving everything, okay, you have discovered during product discovery, okay, into your story. And finally, ignoring data quality and credibility. Okay, for instance, if we are using unreliable or outdated data, it harms our story. Okay, we don't need this to undermine the validity of our story. Audience may question or the integrity of what we have just conveyed, and that also can harm and reduce the influence that we can have with our stakeholders and also our authorities. So you definitely always need to double check, okay, your data, your calculations, validate findings. Okay, this will just strengthen your story, strengthen the credibility and the impact of your story. And finally, leaving out the why behind the data. As I told you, the very, very important things that you need to be careful and provide to your customers, to your stakeholders, is the what and the why. And the why behind the data is very, very important. Why am I doing this? By explaining the significance of the data, okay, providing context behind, connecting the story main messages. So you need to make it clear why you have chosen each data point and how it can contribute to your overall narrative. So very, very quickly, because I think I'm over time. No. 1 minute. Okay, final takeaways, final tips. Okay, now let's reflect on what we have learned. We have learned that data alone is not enough. We should focus on relative data points, and we should always enter a clear call to action. I think those are my 3 final key takeaways. And before I leave, okay, I need to tell you that also very, very important is to practice. Do not go unprepared when you convey your messages. So prepare and practice a lot. So good luck. Thank you.